As you no doubt heard, my XO has appendicitis. Your name was at the top of the list.
Well, that's good to know, sir.
It was a short list.
There's trouble in Russia. So they called us. And we're going over there and bringing the most lethal killing machine ever devised.
The last time we hit this state of emergency was 32 and a half years ago during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this is what it's all about, gentlemen. It's what we train for.
Submerge the ship.
Diving officer, submerge the ship, make it depth 150 feet.
On the 1MC. Dive, dive.
We have a properly formatted emergency action message from National Command Authority.
What we've always known
Bravo, Echo, Charlie, Alpha.
becomes what we've always feared.
Gentlemen, this is the captain. Russian rebels have threatened to launch against our country and are fueling right now. This is not a drill.
Now,
Sir, we have a possible submerged submarine.
You find out who that is.
Receiving emergency action message. Recommend alert 1.
the battle for survival begins.
That's a message fragment.
Sir, we don't know what this message means. Our target package could have changed.
I've made a decision.
There's no place for fear.
He's lost his nerve.
I'd rather go out myself and get this one wrong.
There's no room for mistakes.
If we launch and we're wrong, what's left of Russia is going to launch at us.
I'm captain of this boat. I don't have to think this over.
There's no time for doubt.
Missile systems ready to launch in 6 minutes.
You repeat this order or I'll find somebody who will.
Hell no, you won't, sir.
And nothing can stop the tide.
Sonar torpedoes in the water!
Right full rudder.
1,000 yards of closing dive! Make your depth 1,200 feet!
We cannot launch our missiles unless both you and I agree.
They're fueling our missiles.
He's right on top of us!
Place command. Under arrest. Under charge of mutiny. Don't you ready?
Lock Captain Ramsey's in his stateroom.
Fire one. Now. Give me the missile key, Mr. Hunter. Sir, we are going down. I'm the commander of this ship.
Crimson Tide.
God help you if you're wrong.
If I'm wrong, then we're at war. God help us all.
Well, that's one of my favourite Gene Hackman movies of all time. I can't remember if it was my number one pick. We did a top 5.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm proper fucking upset.
Yeah. It's just,
Yeah.
It was
For the benefit of the people watching, so Gene Hackman is the reason I got into the film industry. I've said this on my channel many times. I mean, I know he was 95 and all of that, but I wanted to work with him so bad. And when I heard he was retiring, I was so gutted because it was like, you know, when I started losing, as you get older, you start losing those icons you've grown up with. And I lost a couple of mine very early on because my other favorite actor was Richard Burton. Of course, he died in '84, which is before I even started working in the industry. But then there was people like Richard Harris and Roger Moore, all actors that I thought I might have had a stab at working with. But Hackman kept going. And you know, I had this big list on my wardrobe, and he was the number one. And every time I thought about quitting the industry, I thought, well, I can't because Hackman is still alive, so I've still got a chance of working with him. And then when he retired, I was gutted, but by then, you know, I was in for life kind of thing. And I wrote him a letter. I wrote him a very long letter. I'm going to try and find it. I know it's on this other PC here. See if I can read it out. And sort of thanking him for making all these wonderful films and just saying how gutted I was that I was never going to get to work with him. Oh man, I'm really upset. I mean, few of us can hope to live till 95, but it's also the circumstances of I don't know. He was found dead with his wife, who was 65, I think, and their dog. So I'm just sort of, that's kind of made it quite hard to digest, you know.
I mean, it's speculative though it is. You know, we do hear so many cases of carbon monoxide poisoning
Mm,
And I mean, that was my first thought as soon as I heard that, you know, alongside his wife and his beloved dog.
mm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's truly shocking. I mean, it's a terrible piece of news to wake up to. Um, I mean, as you say, I mean, is somebody that I mean, I feel has been around all my life, and somebody that as an actor that I've admired so much. Um, having first seen him, obviously, I think in the French Connection. Um, but yeah, it's an awful stream to have to be doing.
Couldn't yeah, I kind of I got up and there was a notification on my phone um that I'd had someone had put a comment on a YouTube thing. I don't know if it was under. I'm trying to find the stream we did about him.
Yeah.
I think it might have been a late night with Lancey episode. I can't remember. Yeah, very sad news. Thanks for tuning in. Naughty Nana, that's an interesting name. Yeah, I heard about Michelle Trachtenberg as well. I mean, also terrible news. One of the actors from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, only 39, but I wasn't a Buffy fan. I didn't grow up with her.
Mm,
She was not on my list of actors to work with. Her death is no less tragic, of course, devastating for the family. But Hackman means, Hackman is kind of almost like losing a distant member of my family.
mm, mm,
And I know that might sound like I'm overstating it, but he's just always been there. And not
yeah.
only that, he was such a motivator for me to
Mm,
want to be in the industry, to want to do better so that I could work with actors of his caliber. I mean, his caliber of acting was, you know, that was the kind of person I aspired to have on my set.
mm,
And I wanted to get to a position where I was going to be able to work with him. And one of his last films was The Runaway Jury.
mm.
Um, and it only had 6 days left on, I think it was Amazon or whichever, the other day. And even though I have a physical copy of the DVD,
Yeah.
just because there were 6 days left of it on, and I could watch it in bed without having to move the Xbox to hook it up and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm going to watch it again while it's got 6 days left. So I need to watch Crimson Tide again, which I think wasn't Crimson Tide my number one pick?
I think it was your number one pick, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I know we both picked Mississippi Burning.
Yeah.
You picked The Conversation.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the other ones I picked, and somebody else was on the stream with us as well, weren't they? Weren't there three of us?
Uh,
Sure,
no,
there
I
was.
think I think it was just you and I was there.
Maybe somebody popped on.
Yeah,
Might have been
possibly.
that somebody popped on and you and I were doing it, and somebody popped on towards the
Yeah.
end. Um,
Yeah,
I
and
can't.
I think I had Get Shorty in there.
You did
He's
have Get
yeah.
Shorty, yeah,
But my number one was and probably always will be French Connection.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of which, you look at the roles that he played in all of those films. I mean, outstanding pieces of acting,
I
absolutely
know,
outstanding.
yeah,
And for all of his, curmudgeonly reputation that he seemed to have garnered over the course of his career, I think people still loved him. Still genuinely loved this actor. Um, because he was an actor's actor, you know. Um, and you get him in anything. It really doesn't matter what film it is. Just to watch him act, it's just a spectacular thing to see. Uh, just really
yeah.
really unique actor.
Yeah.
But it's yeah. I mean, like I say, I remember the first time I saw him. I was actually in the French Connection, and and I saw that as a young kid back in the 70s. And we had, I think I'd mentioned it to you a couple of times, living abroad. There was, at that time, there was no television station. And so we had to hire movies. And we had the French Connection and French Connection 2 back to back. And that was when I first saw Gene Hackman, watching it in my living room on a 16mm projector projected onto the wall, with a bunch of other expats and their families. So we had our own little home cinema at the time. And that was my first time I saw Gene Hackman and knew who he was.
Yeah, would have been. I think we mentioned this on the other stream, but there's absolutely no harm in repeating. I think for me it was, from what I can recall, the first thing I saw him in was the Poseidon Adventure, which was, I think it was on something like Boxing Day
Mm.
and I remember looking this up for my book. I think I tracked down, because there's a really great site that you can go on and look at. You can see the television lineup for any year.
Oh,
BBC,
really?
ITV.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and you can look at what the lineup was per day. When the news was on and everything. You see,
Great.
because I was able to track down that the first time I saw Kelly's Heroes was
Yeah.
New Year's Day of 1977.
Yeah.
Right. So that's in the book, and I'm sure Poseidon Adventure, which is one of the, I think it's quite an early entry. Just trying to find it now. Yeah, here we go. Poseidon Adventure on television with my parents, Christmas 1976.
Yeah.
So it would have been either Christmas or Boxing Day of 1976. That was when I first saw it. Of course, the film was 1972. And I must have said something about Hackman, but maybe the film still holds up today. The film introduced me to the powerhouse actor that is Gene Hackman, and a number of other character actors whose career I would follow. Elsewhere in the book, I talk about Hackman again and speak about. I think I tell the story about when I wrote the letter to him, and also sent a duplicate copy of it to his wife's bespoke furniture store, which she was running at the time. I'm actually, let me have a quick look, and I'm gonna see if I can. There's a great still from the Poseidon Adventure there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can find the letter, because I know I kept it in a folder. I've got my old PC here.
Yeah.
Out of shot. It's just next to the Lego Death Star. That's my old PC screen there. So I'm going to see if I can find the letter that I wrote to Gene, and I'll read it out. Whether I can read it out without crying or not is another matter.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember. I think it's under, let me have personal letters. It's not this one. It's not in this folder. I seem to recall it was in a different folder from that. So I'm gonna have a look. It might take me a while to find this. Might be something I need to dig out. I'm sure I have it, because I remember looking for something else and coming across it on my computer. Oh, hang on, that's Work Projects 2015 onwards. I mean, I wrote this letter to him it would have been around 2005, I think.
Yeah. Is it in the form of a Word document?
It is, yeah.
It is, right. If you go to the search on the top right,
Yeah.
and just put in Gene,
That's good. Yeah, let me do that. There we go. Yeah, it's doing that thing where the bar goes across and slowly things are appearing. Okay, well, that's I know I've seen it. There's a Gene Hackman JPEG. That's presumably a picture. I have a black and white headshot of Gene Hackman. I can't remember what film it's from. It might be from the French Connection. I've got another black and white one of him on Crimson Tide, and I was very tempted to send those to him and ask him to sign them for me. But I didn't, because I felt somehow when I wrote the letter, I felt that would demean the meaning of the letter, if that makes sense.
I agree with that.
I didn't want to be asking for anything from him. I just wanted to tell him. Thomas Datilio says Mamet's Heist is the standout Hackman performance. Yeah, that's a good movie. It's not my favorite, but I mean, listen, there's so many to choose from. Nothing's come up. I'll tell you what I'm going to do is, oh, hang on. No, what's that? No. I'll tell you what else has come up. A picture of Jean Boujvold, who I know you're very keen on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a picture of Gene Hackman from Crimson Tide. Oh, what? Let me search under Hackman. See if anything comes up under Hackman. So I might have saved it as like Hackman letter or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me put it under that. See if anything comes under that. Still trying to sort of. I think if the news had broken and it, you know, his wife and his dog were still around, I don't know why that. Well, I do know why. It's just somehow that puts this horrible extra tragedy on it, you know.
Yeah, that it feels that it wasn't somehow natural.
No.
You know, that there was some awful circumstance under which they, you know, they passed away. But the thing about him is that, I mean, one of the really striking things about him, apart from his incredible performances, is he had these amazing kind of smiling eyes. You know what I mean? Yes. I mean, Harrison Ford has got the same kind of eyes, you know, those smiling eyes, you know, and he really does have that indefinable glint, I think. But his eyes were a huge part of his acting, you know, as they are for every actor, I suppose. But they were so expressive. And it's, you know, it's not just his you know, his acting training, although I've no idea where he trained actually. Did he train anywhere specific, or was it something
I
that
think he was part of the set that sort of was at it was New York, wasn't it? He was East Coast with
is it like Stella Adler, is it?
yeah, I
Something
think
like that?
he was a Stella Adler.
Yeah.
But let me have a quick look, and I do know these things, but they're just not at the tip of my tongue right now. So yeah, after his Pasadena Playhouse in California actually was where he began his career.
Right.
But yeah, I do remember, and he got the lowest score and basically was told he wasn't going to make it. So determined to prove them wrong, he moved to New York City. I knew he started in New York. But if you want to go back to the very beginning, So he worked at the Howard Johnson restaurant, where he encountered an instructor from Pasadena Playhouse who said that his job proved that Hackman wouldn't amount to anything. And he said it was more psychological for warfare because I wasn't going to let those fuckers get me down. I insisted with myself I would continue to do whatever it took to get a job. It was like me against them, and in some way, unfortunately, I still feel that way. But I think if you're really interested in acting, there is a part of you that relishes the struggle. It's a narcotic in the way that you are trained to do this work, and nobody will let you do it. So you're a little bit nuts. You lie to people, you cheat, you do whatever it takes to get an audition, to get a job. Yeah, so he kind of started doing sort of bits and pieces on Broadway, bits and pieces on television, did some off-Broadway plays first. And then, and the first credited role was Lilith with Gene Seberg and Warren Beatty. That's probably what gave him the connection to Warren Beatty to later be cast in Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde was one of the first things I saw him in as well, actually.
Yeah, and it's funny you reading that that statement from him, that little piece from him. That kind of makes sense of that me against them attitude that he seemed to carry through, because he was notoriously difficult for directors to work with. I think there were very few directors that that could give Gene Hackman a run for his money. Tony Scott being one of them. I think if anyone could handle someone like Gene Hackman, it was definitely Tony Scott. I mean, he had a way. He really had a way with actors, and William Friedkin as well. But then, William Friedkin worked with him on his, in his early career. So
before he was cast in, this will be interesting for people watching to hear. Before he was cast in Poseidon and The French Connection, which you could argue were the two films that put him on the spot. The Poseidon being the family orientated one, that introduced him to younger audiences. I wouldn't have seen French Connection until mid to late 70s. He was nearly cast as Mike Brady in the Brady Bunch.
Goodness me.
He was offered the role, but his agent, said you should probably. It depends where you want your career to go.
Yeah. No, that's.
I mean, imagine if he'd accepted that, man.
Yeah, that's a good agent.
Here's the story. I can't really picture.
Marcia, get to your room.
Yeah, I
God
can't
damn it.
I can't really picture that. I've been looking through my letters here. Maybe I haven't got it because this is. I mean, the letter was not written on this PC. It was written on 3 PCs before this.
Yeah.
But I used to have a folder with a lot of transferred documents.
Yeah.
But I don't think I have that folder now for whatever reason. Alan Marks would have been the only person who could have told me where these things were, and he's no longer with us because he was always responsible for. I found my letter to Tom Hanks, which got sent back to me, so he never got it.
Yeah.
I thought about sending it to him again to his island. The only reason I wrote to Tom Hanks was because I wanted him to see my film that was made in Greece. So, I feel like my heart's been fucking ripped out today.
Yeah.
And I know that might seem silly to people, when you haven't met this person in person, but it's just such a huge part of my cinematic journey, and was the person that was there at the very beginning. I could only subscribe that to a couple of other people, Clint Eastwood to a lesser degree, but I didn't I wasn't as rigorous with following Eastwood's career as I was about Hackman's. So, you know,
Yeah, it's. I mean, see, this is where you and I are very similar. To me, what you've said doesn't sound either silly or ridiculous whatsoever, because, um, we kind of went through a time. We grew up in a time where movies absolutely meant so much to us. They still mean an awful lot to us. But there was a deeper meaning to movies, and a deeper affection for movies and the people who starred and co-starred in these films, and people that we followed. We got to know these people, and it's when you start to admire somebody, and it's like anybody. Look, I mean, everybody follows somebody, admires somebody, right? Whether it's a sporting hero, um, whether it's an actor, whether it's anybody in the public eye. Everybody has somebody that they admire, that they have that deal of respect and admiration for. And we're all of the belief that, you know, at some point or other, we're all of the belief that we're all invincible and we're all immortal, and therefore everybody that we love is also, you know, affected by that immortality. And when we suddenly lose somebody that we have that admiration and respect for, it does affect us deeply, because we have a relationship with those people whilst we're watching their movies. So
mm,
we have relationships with those actors. They become, part of what's driving our emotions, what's what's causing us to feel that pain or anguish, or sense of excitement and adventure, or the laughter that they can give to us. And that's an incredible gift that they happen to have, that they're giving to us there. But we do feel that connection with them, and that's why their loss is felt so keenly when we do have to, say farewell to them. Um, but of course, we have their work that we can still go back to. So, in many senses, there is an immortality attached to those people, to those great actors like Gene Hackman, like Richard Burton, like Richard Harris and Roger Moore and Sean Connery, and so many, many, many others. you know um they are in a sense immortal, because we can still go back, and we can revisit the relationship that we had with them when we were younger. We can still feel those emotions that they bestowed upon us, really.
yeah,
um but it is a terrible loss. It's a tragic, tragic loss, for his entire family and so many other people that loved and admired him and worked with him, and of course, you're not forgetting his dear wife as
yeah.
well.
I was thinking we should definitely say a few words about her as well. One of the things that struck me when I was reading it was I think they met at the gym
Mm,
in the 90s. I read just now,
yeah,
and see if I can get a picture of her up in a sec. And I mean, there's nothing worse than losing your loved one, as in your partner.
yeah,
Anyone can tell you that who's
yeah,
lost someone. I know you've been through that yourself.
yeah.
And uh, I think about how they got married. I think in 1991. I think because he
Right.
was married twice. He was Betsy Akawa was his second wife. Faye Maltese was his first wife, and they got divorced in 1986.
Mm,
And as my other guests that have come on, my Hollywood guests that have come on will tell you, Hollywood doesn't have a high success rate of marriages. You know, it's not
Mm.
uncommon to see people that have been married and divorced 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And so for him to meet a woman in 1991 and for them to be together until 2025, I think that's 44 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just picking that off the top of my head. I might be slightly out. 44 years is that's a great, you know, few people get to experience that, I think. 44 years is a long time for a marriage to last. It's you know, and I think you have to be really in love with each other to sustain that, to go for that period of time. And so they must have been, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
They must have really been in love. The Daily Express has got a great photograph of them together, which of course I can't share because I'm not not a subscriber of oh, here we go. It can always depend on the Guardian. So as you often say yourself in some manner, I know. This is a lovely photograph of them together. This photo, incidentally, it says it was taken in 1986. I think that's incorrect because I'm pretty certain they did not meet until the 1990s. They wouldn't have met before 1990. So subscribing this photo as 1986 is wrong. And also you can tell Hackman's older in this picture.
Yeah.
I think this photo was probably taken in the late 90s or thereabouts.
Yeah. I'd say so.
It could have also been taken at the last time they went out in public together, which I think he picked up an award in the early 2000s. I think it's much more likely that this photograph was taken then. So Guardian, you got that wrong. But yeah, there she is, very beautiful woman, classic pianist. But she did, I can say, she absolutely did run a bespoke furniture shop at one stage. They probably didn't have it anymore, but certainly at the time that I wrote to him, and I remember that was a Santa Fe address, that store.
Yeah.
And I found it on Google, which was kind of in the early 2000s, was in its infancy then, and sent one copy of the letter to his agent, and I sent another copy of the letter to the store with an apology for sending it there, but saying I was so determined that this letter should reach you. I just want to make sure that, you know, I don't want anything. I just want to make sure you get it. So, but I don't think I have the letter anymore. I thought I did, but I can't find it, sadly, on the old machine. It's just not here. I think I probably lost it on the PC before this one, because there was not everything transferred over, and I know I lost some things. So unfortunately, that must have been that must have been one of the things. Incidentally, by the way, I'm off to hospital in about an hour.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, to get a deeper scan, to get this thing with my chest examined, see what's going on. So that's why I'm coughing and spluttering. So if there's no immediate indication of foul play, that obviously means it's not a murder-suicide or anything like that. Thank God. That would be an awful epitaph.
Yeah.
So like you say, probably some sort of carbon monoxide thing, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that was that. As soon as I heard that him and his wife and their dog had all died, I thought, goodness me, that really does sound like some kind of carbon monoxide thing that we do hear about. It's, you know, it's a lot rarer now, but it certainly isn't as uncommon as we would like to think it is. You know, um,
Mm.
yeah, and those kind of circumstances, you know, when you think about it, you know, two wonderful people that have now, you know, succumbed to something that was completely avoidable. Um, yeah, it's dreadful. A really, really dreadful situation.
Yeah. Um, we did for the benefit of the people watching, we did a top 5 Hackman films not that long ago. I think
Mm.
it was a very spontaneous thing, wasn't it? I just
It
said
was, yeah,
let's
yeah,
do it.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and I think part of the reason I wanted to do it was because I thought, you know, he's 95. I'd
that's
rather
right. That's right. It was
I
on his birthday.
it was on his birthday, and I said I'd rather do a Hackman stream about his top 5 films while he's still alive than
Yeah,
when he passes away. His birthday was the 30th of January.
that's right.
Right. So I'm actually going to have a quick look on my channel to see if I can find this stream that we did, because it's not very well signposted, because I don't think we had a proper thumbnail for it, because we just
Mm.
decided to do it later that night, I think.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
so we were so let me have a quick look. I think it was a late night with Lancey video, or live stream rather. So I'm just going to see if I can look through that playlist and see. And Toxic, I see you're in the chat, mate. Let me know if you want to come on, and I'll send you the link. Hang on, let's do a search here. Let me go and manage videos. If I go, yeah, I'm just gonna have a quick, yeah, because I don't think like Enzo did me a thumbnail or anything.
Yeah, it was an impromptu thing.
I've also done a special before. Here we go. Late Night with Lancey, Gene Hackman. I got it. I've also done a I've also done a special on Uncommon Valor before. So the link, if you want to see us talking about Gene Hackman, and I've probably told the story about the letter and all of those things. The link, guys, is this is the video where we talked about it, talked about his career. And I'll just stop that for a second. Yeah, I can't believe 30th of January. So it was only last month.
Yeah.
Because the 1st is Saturday, isn't it? 1st of March. March is Saturday. My God,
Yes,
it's
it
going to be
is.
March
Goodness me.
already.
Goodness me.
So this is now we can find out who came on with us, because we were trying to remember. I'm sure somebody popped on briefly. I know it was you and me for the most part.
Yeah.
So this was us talking, and I think we talked about his career in general at the beginning, and I showed there is a great kind of montage of all his stuff on his IMDb page, which I showed at the beginning of the stream. Hoosiers was one of my picks,
That's
wasn't it?
right. Yeah. Yeah. Hoosiers. Yeah.
Yeah, Hoosiers. No, I love that film, and Hackman hated making that movie, and gave everybody a really hard time every time he turned up on set. He was so grumpy, and yeah, we talked about Under Fire, which is a movie that I saw with my dad in Denmark.
That's right.
As
Yeah.
a double bill of part of 48 Hours and Under Fire. So yeah, so I think at the beginning we talked we kind of talked about films that weren't in our top 5 but were near misses.
Yeah.
So guys, this stream we did about Gene Hackman was on his birthday, January the 30th this year. This was literally just a few weeks ago, and it was a great stream. We had a really good time you know, talking about uncommon valor, and
Yeah.
I think one of my favorites was No Way Out.
That's right. Yeah.
And actually, when I did my 100th industry interview, and I had Drinker and Jason on, the one category that we didn't get to because we kind of ran out of time was spy thrillers, and that was my pick for that. So I'm kind of
Right.
annoyed.
Yeah.
This is I think this is the Conversation, which was one of
Yeah.
yours. And then here we are talking about Crimson Tide. So maybe, I mean, we've still got quite a way to go. So maybe Crimson Tide wasn't my number one pick, but it was certainly my top 5. Then we talked about Get Shorty. Elmer Leonard wrote Harry Zim especially for Hackman. So nice tidbit there. Yeah, Tomby, good to see you in the chat, mate. Don't know if you want to pop on briefly, but if you do want to pop on and say a few words about Hackman and what he meant to you, I'll send you the link, mate. Just let me know. So yeah, again, this is us talking about it. So then there's Hoosiers. This is me talking about Hoosiers. Then we both had Mississippi Burning, I think at the same place, or
I think it
near
was. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
we
did.
both picked it because we didn't discuss our top 5 with each other ahead of time, and it might be, I mean, maybe was Crimson Tide on your list as well?
It wasn't on my list.
No. Okay, right. So then this is me talking about No Way Out, which guys, if you haven't seen it, it's absolutely one of Hackman's best
cracking
films.
film.
So I think I think No Way Out was my number 2. And then I think French Connection was your number 1.
Yeah.
I don't know, was Runaway Jury my number 1? Or maybe I can't remember if we were talking about Hackman characters or Hackman films. Was the
Yeah, we were talking about Hackman films, but then others where he played maybe a lesser character within those films as well.
Yeah. There you go. So I think yeah, I think the Runaway Jury looks like it was my number 1 pick. You'll have to watch the stream to find out. I thought Crimson Tide was my number 1 pick.
Yeah, I did. I thought Crimson
I might
Tide.
be mentioning Runaway Jury at the end as a special mention.
Yeah.
So it could be that. It could be that No Way Out might have been my number 1 pick, because I do really like Hackman in No Way Out. He's frightening in No Way Out.
Yeah, he is.
That was, I'll tell you what, it was this night. It was right after we did this stream. When I went to bed, I went and watched Runaway Jury straight after, because I just thought. Aaron says he thinks we both had French Connection as number 1. That is also possible, mate. It might be that we did. I just can't remember. There's so many. Hackman.
Yeah. I think. See, it is very, very difficult to do a top 5 or a top 10, because they're very interchangeable, aren't they? It's I can pick my absolute favorite, but in terms of everything else, I couldn't rank them. They would all be
it's
very interchangeable in terms of place. Yeah, really, really difficult.
So again, anyone just coming on, we did a Hackman top 5 on Hackman's birthday in January, just a few weeks ago. There is the link for that stream. Hard to believe, man, that just a few weeks later we're talking about his passing. I mean, I think we did say, it's likely to be soon, because of course he was 95. We'd seen pictures of him. He was looking a bit frail.
Yeah.
I think it's more the shock of it's him, his wife, and his dog that.
Yeah.
And that just adds this whole extra layer of Christ, what happened, So I never thought I'd be talking about my favorite actor of all time in that context. And I mean, I've said it on my channel so many times. Hackman is my favorite actor of all time. Hackman was always at the top of the list of the people I wanted to work with.
Look at that
He
picture.
was the reason I stayed in the industry. You know, when I sort of thought about dropping out. Do you know Downhill Racer, 1969? Now, that is a film of Hackman's that I do remember. It was on telly one time, and I was sort of vaguely watching it because my dad was interested in skiing.
Yeah.
But as soon as I realized it wasn't a Hackman action or heist movie, I probably wandered off to play with Lego or whatever. So that's a film I've never watched beginning to end of Hackman's.
Yeah. I mean, the strange thing is, do you remember on your amazing Galen Hurd interview, and
Yeah,
she happened to be actually, I think it was when she was on the first time she was on with Ron
Ron
Underwood,
Underwood. Yeah,
and she was talking about a couple of books that she was reading. She said that one of them is the book by Ed Zwick,
yeah, which
which we both have.
I've got.
The other one was the Friedkin Connection, which was William Friedkin's autobiography that he wrote, or his memoir that he wrote just prior to his passing as well.
Right.
And I've just started reading that, which is really quite odd because I was sort of busting to get to the French Connection section of the book. So at the moment, I'm kind of where he's directing for TV. And got a documentary film over at the San Francisco Film Festival. But yeah, and I mean, last night, I was eagerly trying to get through to the sections where he's going to be talking about Gene Hackman, and
Right.
which is quite strange, really, because that's the moment that I really want to read. I'm waiting to get to, his perception of Gene Hackman, and of course, woke up this morning to this terrible news about Gene Hackman. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, it is a dreadful, dreadful situation. I mean, for the family and close friends, it must be so much more, compounded.
Of his
Um,
generation, there's probably only Redford and Eastwood left.
that's it. I think those are the ones. Yeah.
I don't
Um,
think. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any others that are still around. I mean, we've lost Connery now.
yeah.
Michael Caine, but I mean, he was, uh,
A
slightly
tad
younger.
after. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could say of the same level and of that kind of golden era, Michael Caine. Michael Caine, Eastwood, and
Redford. Yeah.
Redford, probably the only
Yeah.
last men standing.
Yeah. Warren Beatty, perhaps.
Warren Beatty, Warren
Yeah.
Beatty, yeah. He is still alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
but
Tomby, we were just saying ourselves, we think it probably was some sort of carbon monoxide accident, something like that. Seems likely.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And that does make it quite, doubly upsetting, I think, because it wasn't a natural
yeah,
passing, something that could have been avoided. Um,
yeah. Ah, man, what a way
yeah,
to
what a
start the
loss.
day.
What a loss.
I went to bed
Yeah.
at like was some ridiculous hour yesterday. It was like 4 a.m. Was
Yeah, me too.
and was
I watched, yeah.
Yeah, because we did a stream. Then I did another stream after I did the stream with you,
Yeah.
because we did the Kathleen Kennedy stream together.
Yeah.
And then I was on Goat's channel, Eclectic Goat, talking
Yeah.
about board games and stuff.
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
tuned in to watch
Yes,
that.
I did. Yeah, good stream. Watched it to the
Yeah.
end. Yeah.
And then after that, I actually cooked myself a meal because I hadn't eaten since lunchtime. So I was like cooking myself this dinner at 2 a.m. And then I thought, well, I can't go to sleep now because I've got to, otherwise I'm going to have indigestion. So I have to. So I stayed up on the computer for another hour.
Yeah.
Went to bed at 3. Stayed up and watched some, I Married a Murderer or whatever, one of those Netflix crime things.
Yeah.
And now I think about it, when I look back last night, I was, normally I would just turn that thing off and I would go to sleep. And I was kind of restless. I was sort of like, what's wrong? Why don't I want to now sleep? And he must have passed by then, I would have thought.
Yeah.
It
was a very, very similar thing to me, actually. I think after, I watched the excellent industry interview that you did, which was absolutely superb. And if anyone watching hasn't seen it, you've got to watch it. It's such an insightful interview. And then obviously straight after we did the Kathleen Kennedy thing, and straight after that, you were on a Eclectic Goats channel. And of course, I watched that all the way through. And then after that, I spent a little bit of time on the computer, and then similar thing, was a bit restless and sort of settled down with the Friedkin connection, trying to whiz through to get through to the moment where he starts filming French Connection. And I was very kind of fidgety, and and that was very, very late.
Well, yeah, we should really meet up tonight and go out and get pissed.
Yeah. This is.
I think. I mean, if you want a more kind of analytical stream about a look back at Gene Hackman's career, as we said earlier, we did this on his birthday last month, January 30th. And the link for that is in the chat. I've put it in several times. You can go back and have a look at that. It's a really interesting discussion. I think it was just you and me all the way through, but I think other people were quite proactively contributing, weren't they?
Yes, they were. Yeah, there was some good chat in there, some good suggestions thrown in there by others as well. Yeah.
Yeah. What else is there to say? Great man has left the building, and the person who really was the first guy to make me say I want to do that. In fact, I think Hackman is probably the person who got me interested in acting in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I was an actor before I was a filmmaker. And I wanted to play roles like the role in the Poseidon Adventure. I wanted to do the running around and the kind of the actiony stuff. Because I remember when I used to be asked, I would have been about 10, what do you want to do when you get older? I used to say, I want to be James Bond.
Yeah. You and me. But it's funny talking about him in the Poseidon Adventure. He is, I mean, obviously we remember the stunts, we remember, the great sort of miniature sequence and the great action sequences and everything. But he's the one that is burned onto everybody's mind. He's the one, him and Shelley Winters.
Yeah, well, it's that speech that he does where he's turning the wheel.
Yeah.
At the end, and kind of he's challenging God, isn't he? Because he's a preacher.
Yeah.
And then there's also the little scene he has with Winters when she dies, and he says, "God, not this woman," in tears, and that's a really moving moment. But fortunately, Grandpa Joe makes it out from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna be in a proper low mood today. It's weird as well because I always. I even remember having a discussion with my ex-missus. I remember saying to her, you know, just know on the day that Gene Hackman passes away, I will be really fucking sad. I'll be unconsolable for at least 24 hours. And I had to explain to her, you know, this is the person. This is why I got into the industry. This is the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our Northern English mustard is in the chat.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hello, mate.
Yeah. Good shout, sir. Glad you did that. Right. Okay. Well, my hospital appointment is in 2 hours, so we'd better sign off. Is there anything you want to say before we close out?
I mean, I suppose just one final thing, and just something that, you know, repeating, and something that I'd said earlier, that, you know, these great people are immortalized forever. You know, so whenever we want to see them again, we really can. You know, and they can, you know, they can give us those emotional responses every time. So every time I want to see Gene Hackman again, and, you know that he's still around, all I got to do is put on the French Connection, or put on The Conversation, or put on Get Shorty.
What
And
film will you stick on tonight to
I
honor
think
Hackman's memory?
if I'm honest, I'm really want to watch Get Shorty again, because he has never done anything so self-deprecating. It's the most
Yeah.
self-deprecating role that he's ever played. You know, he's a buffoon. You know, he's a lovable buffoon. You know, he's the kind of buffoon that you just want to. You know, he's that's the only character I think he's played where you kind of want to give him a little bit of a hug. You know.
Yeah, Zim, Harry Zim.
Yeah, Harry Zim.
Yeah.
But he played it so well, and he was the best thing in that by a mile, by an absolute mile.
Yeah, I mean, even stealing the film from John Travolta.
Yeah.
In fact, there were two people that stole the film from John Travolta. One was Gene Hackman, and the other was the guy who played Ray Barboni.
Yeah.
Oh God, I forget the actor's name.
Dennis Farina.
Dennis Farina. Dennis Farina and Hackman totally stole that film from
when they
DeVito, Travolta, and the girl.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And when they were together, when Dennis Farina meets when Ray Barbone meets Harry Zim,
that scene
is hilarious.
Yeah, that scene is absolute gold.
Yeah, when he walks, he goes, "Who are you?" He goes, "I'm the dipshit."
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the dipshit.
That's a brilliant scene. It's one of the best. I mean, they can really act. See, this is the thing about a great actor. A great actor is not necessarily confined to genre. They're not necessarily genre actors. I mean, there were some great genre actors, but those two, you know, they can play evil shits and hilarious characters. They're great, and that's a perfect example for the pair of them. Perfect example.
Yeah. I agree. I think I haven't watched it in a while, and I wanted to watch it when we did the stream a few weeks ago about Hackman's career. I will probably put on Crimson Tide tonight because I've been meaning to. I haven't watched it in probably over two or 3 years, and there was a time when I would watch that movie every year.
Yeah.
But I haven't watched that in a while. I haven't watched Hoosiers in a while. And the main reason I haven't watched Hoosiers in a while is because I've got a really great limited edition box set of it with all these extra bells and making ofs and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But my multi-regional DVD/Blu-ray player that could play discs from anywhere in the world unfortunately gave up the ghost. It just Yeah, unfortunately. So I don't have that player any longer, so I can't currently play Hoosiers. And somebody heard me say that on the Gene Hackman stream, and I woke up the next day to find somebody had sent me a copy of Hoosiers online. They'd sent me a file, one of our subscribers, which was very kind of them. Just so I could watch it, and because the only other version I could find of it was with Hackman speaking French.
Yeah.
Oh yes, oh la la. It was, and it wasn't his voice either, so it was quite. It was quite entertaining. Okay, so to sign out, I'm going to play this reel of Hackman's, which is on his IMDb. And like the Inside Man said, the one saving grace, if you will, about this news, this terrible news, especially for the family of Hackman's wife, who was only 63, is that the roles that he gave us are immortalized forever. We can put them on our DVD players, on our Blu-ray players, or on our streaming service. We can get those Hackman greatest hits and put them on at any time. But this is the one actor I can truly say shaped my life more than any other, and gave me more enjoyment than any other, whose films I own more of their body of work than any other actor. I've got more Hackman films than any one other actor. Even Roger Moore, I think I've got more Hackman films in my collection, because I've just got so many of his movies, because so many of them meant so much to me. So yeah. So I'm off to the hospital in an hour. So thank you for your concern. Yeah, it's just the cough that's lingering. Otherwise, I feel fine. All right. Thanks for the Inside Man for coming on.
Pleasure.
It's such short notice. And thanks for the people in chat for coming in and contributing with their own thoughts about Hackman. There's a possibility I might be popping on somebody else's channel later tonight to say a few words about him, but that's not confirmed yet, so I don't want to lock into that. We will also be back on Sunday at 8 o'clock. Myself and the Inside Man will be back, and we'll be talking about the 4 on Tebby films on Sunday. And then we're back with the Nielsen ratings on Tuesday, and I dare say we may well talk about Hackman again then, because he certainly deserves it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it from us. So to sign us out, let's have a quick look at a bit of his work.
When's the last time you picked your feet? Huh?
Yeah, what's he talking about?
I got a man in Poughkeepsie who wants to talk to you. You ever been in Poughkeepsie?
Listen, if there's one surefire rule that I have learned in this business, is that I don't know anything about human nature. I don't know anything about curiosity. That's not part of what I do.
You like baseball, do you, Anderson?
Yeah, dude. You know, it's the only time when a black man can wave a stick at a white man and not start a riot.
Whoa! We're going to have ourselves a time, boy! We surely are.
It's game time. I had a speech prepared, but I guess I forgot to.
Resolve to fight for yourselves, for others, for those you love.
If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
I'm very sorry for your loss. Your mother was a terribly attractive woman.
Why, it's the most brilliantly diabolical leader of our time, surrounding himself with total nincompoops. I back Mr. Luthor. Yes, I was just talking about you.
No, don't speak. Don't speak. Don't say a word. Now all you gotta do is pull the trigger, mister.